All right, next on our list is Mr. Wayne Boucher, Fitness Zone's own
I think I stole your
personal training god.
It's an intimate group, which makes it a little easier, right? So yeah, I'm going to talk today. I'm going to talk about developing a product and get it out on the market, which can be quite the ordeal. Have you ever had an idea for a product or anything?
I've had a few.
You've had a few? What stopped you from bringing them out?
Procrastination, you know?
Procrastination, yeah. You know what, a lot of the times it is a little bit of procrastination. A lot of the times is people don't know where to start. I have a product that is just about to go to market right now. We're finalizing with a manufacturer. I'm actually finalizing my patent as well, so I can't show a big picture of it or anything. But yes, you know what, I came up with an idea and I thought, this is awesome, I'm going to do this. And then, you know, where do we go? How do we change what we have a drawing of to something solid? And how do we get it from something solid all the way to something on the market? And so it's been a steep learning curve, and I will say this, there is no get rich quick or overnight success stories. I think it is a certain amount of work. It's been 2 years now, and we're just about to go to market, and it could have been a lot longer. So the initial steps, depending on the kind of product you want to develop, for me it was a fitness related product, obviously. And so for me, it was to get a 3D, a real tangible product from the drawing. So for that, I contacted a couple tool and die shops, and they transferred the pictures to AutoCAD now for me, and then designed the product. From there, we redesigned a few times. I changed a few measurements. All my studies were based on ergonomic studies done from the Strength and Conditioning Journal, so we played around with it. So that was 2 years ago. Now it's even easier, though, with 3D photocopiers. You can have something in your hand pretty quick to play around with and redesign and go from there. So now I have a prototype. Where do we go from there? So the prototype, after the prototype design, you know, you have to sort of look, okay, what do I have to do? Well, you're going to need a patent. And then other things came to mind. You need a business plan. You need branding, market research, and all these things started piling up, and I was like, where do I go next? So for me, I worked with a company. There's a company in Ottawa called Design First, and by no means do I pump them, owe them anything or anything like that, but they were a very good company. And with them, I worked through the design phases of my prototype to bring down the weight and a few other aspects. And they have, you know, different experts in the field. So they had an engineer, graphic designer, professional writer, publicist, blah, 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 everything. So they pull everything together for you so you have a nice package. So when I was finished, I had all my new drawings, I had a new prototype, and I was ready to go further into branding and marketing and stuff like that. However, after working with the company, I went back to the original model. Not because there was anything wrong with it, just after playing through it, it worked its course, and I ended up back where I started, which is where I wanted it to be. Now, there's a lot of untapped resources in the city that people aren't aware of. You can apply for all sorts of entrepreneurial grants. There's lots of youth entrepreneurial grants available. If you were female, there's even more actually. There's a big push in Canada for female entrepreneurs to go after some money. And so there's some resources there. Other resources, untapped resources, would be, for example, here at the college. Universities have them as well. They have an applied research department. You go to Algonquin, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you aware of the applied research department? See, that's what I mean. It's such an untapped resource. So the applied research department, you go to them with an idea, almost like a sales pitch, if you will. And so I went to them with my product. This is what I have. It's designed to increase grip strength and work through rehabilitation of the hands. And they liked it, and so they approved the project. So Applied Research accepted my project. They take no ownership of it. But now if I was to pay a private company for branding, market research, anything like that, it is very expensive. Working with an Applied Research department, for every one of your dollars, they match with $6 to $10. So all of a sudden, my $10,000 marketing plan was $3,000. And they do this, the college does this, and the universities do this as well. They did this for the reason that their faculty, so there's a faculty lead that's put in charge, and then graduate students. It's to allow them to build their portfolio and expand on them, and they were fantastic. Now universities have this as well, but universities come with a slight catch. They want their name attached to it, whereas Algonquin is not concerned with that.
And they don't ask for a royalty?
No royalties, no nothing. We signed a non-disclosure agreement, which is fairly standard. So before you get your patent, as you're working with manufacturers, you need to be working with a non-disclosure agreement just to make sure nobody runs off with your idea. And it's an untapped resource and it's fantastic. I'll give you a little story of somebody else who used them. There was a gentleman in Ottawa that wanted to come up with, wonton wrappers? Little wonton wrappers?
Yeah.
He wanted to develop a brown rice one, so a whole wheat version.
Okay.
So it was submitted to the Applied Research Department. They accepted it. There was a culinary chef put in charge of the product, so he's pulled out of his normal day-to-day work, and now he's in charge of this project. There was an engineer, Holt, and he was in charge of designing the manufacturing, how to make the rice rollers. And then the culinary students all worked together until they came up with a recipe that wouldn't break apart, that wouldn't do this, that wouldn't do that, fulfilled all the client's needs. And at the end, he was given a miniature of the machine that would make, it actually did make the little rice papers, and the recipe, which is his, right? He gets to keep it, it's his name on it, it's not Algonquin College's. And now he's manufacturing these rice wrappers, whole wheat ones, and they're the only ones on the market right now. Can't patent food, but he was first to market. So it is a big untapped resource. It's really, really underutilized. You know what? And you should explore it here while you're on campus, just to get a feel for it.
Yeah, totally.
And so there goes the procrastination part. When you're able to pitch it to somebody, and you have a team of people that are going to help work with you, right? And as soon as you start getting timelines and stuff like that, now they were incredible. My branding. So there was a phase one where we did sort of the market research. Market research came back very positive. And then led to little nuggets in other areas, and the market research went that way. And then my phase two with applied research, so I left the engineers and those guys, was with the branding marketing department. So we had the graphic design students, and they pitched me 50 different logos based on what my feelings for the product were. Like the product came across, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And same thing, they matched the dollars in that dimensions. And if I'd have gone with a public company out in the private sector, it would have been very expensive. Now, all saying that, you can put the work in yourself, right? But procrastination will slow you down. The other hurdle is, and for me was one of the bigger hurdles, was patent. Now, patents are difficult, and what I didn't realize, and this is something I learned, if you can take a current product or a current two products, put them together, shrink them, expand them, and if it is similar to your product, you cannot get a patent. So it's not considered an ingenious idea. So that changes things. So you know what, you can throw 2 or 3 things at mine, and it would cover what my product is, even though those 3 things are completely separate products. So I had to go back to the drawing board and go, where do I there? So I'm getting oh goodness me. All I can patent is the exact shape, the exact dimensions. So a utility patent is what it's called. It comes with a little less protection than the original patent, but there's nothing I can do. So that costs money as well. Lawyer fees are expensive, but with my professional drawings, I was able to go into those. That saved me having to get professional drawings done again. And you can shop around too. You can get a patent agent. You can do it yourself. I actually have a friend who works for the patent department in the government, and his job, because if you ever go on the website to try to do your own patent, it is the most convoluted, backwards, poorly designed website I've ever come across. When I tried to do it myself, I was willing to pay double when I tried to finish the process online to have somebody else do it. It was that grievous. Anyway, so they're trying to make it easier so you can sort of file yourself. And so I'm filing for North America. Overseas, it's very hard to get protection. And if you talk to any patent lawyer, if somebody steals your idea, you have to wait 5 or 6 years before any money sort of come in if you're going to get any of that returned back. Yeah?
That's very interesting. Just
Question, yes?
Question might be a little off topic, but do you have any tips, I guess, for building a passive or residual income?
Passive residual income. So a passive residual income. So if I was to look at my industry and some colleagues that have built passive sort of income, they've done it through ebooks and program design, right? So performance coaching and professional coaching we all do. I'm not a big fan of online personal training. It sort of takes the personal out of it, if you know what I mean. So it's not my forte. I do have some colleagues who are incredibly successful at it though. And for a certain percentage of the population that fits. They like that sort of online connection and that constant having to send your bi-weekly reports in without seeing the person. However, they've built quite a residual income with that, because there's a monthly fee for the coaching. There's a monthly fee for the expertise, so to speak, right? So the coaching is the expertise. And then they've done it with ebooks and stuff like that. So you know, Jim's done a 531 program that took off, and he's probably sold 400,000 copies of his ebook, and it's still, you know, and it still sells. And so then he would do an update, you know, the 5321 program version 2.0, and you know, it might only be $4.99 for the update, but he sells 50,000 of them. So that's, you know, other than that, I probably don't have a ton of advice for residual income. My product is going to be completely hands-off as far as there's not going to be a storefront. I'm not really pitching it to local distributors. It's going to be online sales only. And my hope is, and it doesn't look like it's going to go that way, I was hoping to get originally a drop shipper, which would mean the money comes in, the shipping and the cost go to the drop shipper, my profit comes to me, and that's it. Everything gets shipped, everything goes off, but it's very difficult to do. And manufacturing in Canada actually is sort of where this was going next. It was my most disappointing hurdle. What I wanted more than anything for the product was for it to say stamped made in Canada. It was just, it has such a hockey component to it that sort of was you know, a little bit of a sales pitch without having the made in Canada on it. I worked with 3 manufacturers, well-established manufacturers to new manufacturers. And the reason I say that, the established guys have been around for 30, 40 years. Sometimes not as hungry as the newer guys, right, for contracts. And they all quoted me right around the same. And you know, Kevin was quite good. We sat down, we were having coffee. He pumped out 10 more prototypes for me just because I was shopping them around a little bit with some colleagues. And you know, he's turning down business here, but essentially the conversation went, if you want to stay competitive, you can't manufacture in Canada. And he's absolutely right, I cannot manufacture in Canada. It's a 70% difference in cost, yeah, for my product, which is, you know, that's significant.
You would say that's associated because of labor costs in China?
It is, and then, you know, then there's the moral dilemma, right? So I'm paying, I want to be competitive, so now I'm shopping my product overseas right now, and it looks like in the end I'll be going with Korea. China has a much bigger growing middle class right now, so with their middle class growing so much, their labor's creeping up as well. And so Korea is actually quite competitive now, Malaysia as well. And so, you know, but here's the dilemma, right? The moral dilemma as I'm finishing the final stages of signing with my manufacturer now, is to stay competitive. You know, and so my machine retails for $65 plus shipping and handling, so it's not a huge expense. To have it manufactured in Canada was $50 per piece, and so that leaves me nothing. It leaves me nothing to be competitive with, right? At $15 per unit, and overseas I'm getting quoted fully assembled and packaged at $17 to $22 per unit shipped over here, and that includes the tariffs and the overseas shipping.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a significant difference. So you know what that means? They're being made for, it's the labor. Aluminum's aluminum, right? So it's the labor where the cost is growing. And if you spend some time on some of the manufacturing websites from overseas, you'll see little intro videos and stuff like that, and some are better than others. And you know, these places really are, and when I say work camps, I don't mean it like that, but I just mean when people go to work, they're these cities that are just factories, right? So they're going in, they're being bussed in, and you know, there's 600 people working on my product, and my order is done in 40 minutes. You know what I mean? And it's just, they're just able to pump it out. This means these people are not getting paid probably what they're worth, but there's no choice if I want to be competitive in today's market.
How did you find all these manufacturers in Korea and China?
No, difficult, and so, you know, and there's some funny stories with that. I talked to the Dean of Business here, and he suggested Korea and Malaysia, so I started with the internet for those two. And I'll tell you a funny story here. Yeah, I do have time. And then with the Applied Research Department, Lisa. Lisa's not her real name, I can't pronounce her real name. Anyway, her father does manufacturing overseas, and so she put me in contact with him. That didn't pan out. He manufactures all in plastics, so it was no good. But he sent me in the right direction for China. And it was nice having somebody who was over there, and actually whose English was really good. Sometimes there is a little bit of a language barrier, which isn't always, it's like my French. My French is really good unless we're starting to talk about technical stuff like computer parts or car parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I'm like, so that's where, you know, sometimes the language barrier is. So my funny story, which isn't a funny story, while shopping for manufacturers, a colleague of mine makes a product called Fat Grips, and basically it literally is a tube like that that slides over any barbell, dumbbell, anything like that. And it retails here for $49 plus shipping and handling. And it's got the logo down the side. It says Fat Grips. I have 2 pairs. I bought one. One pair was given to me. And they're a really great product. You know, there's nothing, there's no rocket science about it, but it's a really good product. It has a purpose. His goal was to get one in every gym across the world.
And he was able to patent it?
He was able to patent it, yeah. And here's the funny story with the patents. So his name's Warner, and Warner no longer works. Every time I talk to him, he's in a different part of the world. So there's enough revenue coming in that Warner's literally just traveling steady. I think actually the last time I spoke to him, he was in Malaysia. And so I was on one of the Korean manufacturers' websites, and you can look through products that are already in development. And it was in the fitness area, and there was a Fat Grips, his logo down the side, everything, the exact same product, $17.99 free shipping. So, you know, products are going out the front door and the back door. Your patent can't protect you overseas. So as soon as my technical drawings end up overseas, my product will also be, and the patent lawyer just said, you'll have to accept it. There's really nothing you can do.
And you don't get a portion of that?
No, I get nothing. Nothing. Warner doesn't even know they're being sold out of there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he does now, I told him, and he just sort of snickered because he said China's been doing it to him for years. So I was like, oh, cost of business, I guess. Cost of being successful. But yeah, so, you know, that's sort of funny. So that's where I am right now, and you know, manufacturing is a hurdle. Manufacturing in Canada is a big hurdle. If it's paper products or something like that, maybe not, but when we're talking mechanical products, metal, fabrication, it's going to be always cheaper to sort of go offshore to manufacture. Have any other questions for me?
No, I don't, but thank you for the little tidbit about the applied research department.
Yeah, you know what, and they're really good. They do a lot of student work. There's a student here, a young entrepreneur. He was actually a client of mine. He had bought like 15, 20 personal training sessions. He's Kirill, I think is his name. I can't pronounce it, I always call him Gretzky. And he has an idea for like you know, I'm not going to give anything away. He talks about it quite freely. But not a social network like Facebook, but a different sort of thing. Now, Gretzky's only been here for 2 years from Russia, and you know, just a different way to connect. And he's got all these ideas, and he really is an outside of the box thinker. I'm not giving it justice by saying that you're like, well, another Facebook, that's lame. But he applied to the applied research department. They accepted his proposal. And then, so they, you know, he's a student, so when he went in and they said, okay, so we're going to give you $10,000 worth of research, it's going to cost you $3,000. Gretzky doesn't have $3,000. Expressed his case as a student and got it down to $1,500, with still the $10,000 with the research. So if you have an idea and you've been sitting on it for a long time, put a little paperwork behind it, do a little bit of a business model, and approach them with it. They're quite good to the students. Well, they're quite good to anybody in the community as well, but if you have a full-time job, they're going to make you pay.
So the applied research department is open to the public, or is it just Algonquin students?
No, it's open to the public. And so I've been at the college for, this will be my 10th year here at the college, and I only found out about it right before I started with my product. I already had it made somewhere else and was working my way through, muddling my way through a lot of it, right? It does come with a steep learning curve when you're trying to get something out. And I was like, you know what, nobody's doing this overnight. Nobody's getting rich overnight. I've been lied to by TV for sure. And actually my goal is to help people, not necessarily get rich, but my wife would like me to get rich, so there's two ways about that. And, it was it was the culinary professor that told me about it. We were having coffee one morning at the fitness zone, and he's like, oh, what are you working on? I had a couple drawings laid out, you know, 7:30 in the morning. You know, college students are not early risers, so the gym was not packed, and we were chatting, and I said, oh, it's a product I'm developing, you know, to help rehab forearms and help strengthen hands, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, have you ever thought about working with applied research? And I was like, what's that? And, you know, this is you know, $4,000 or $5,000 after working with the Design First company as well. So, yeah, it's a hidden gem. It really is a hidden gem.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah.
No, man.
All right.
Wayne, thank you. very, very
No
much.
worries.
We appreciate all your time and effort.